She stood in my driveway, arms crossed, and told me, not asked me, told me that she needed a copy of my gate key. Said it was for the community's benefit. Said she needed access to the shared easement that ran along my back fence line. She had a smile on her face like she'd already won. What she didn't know was that I'm an architectural engineer who had already spent 6 months reviewing every document this HOA had ever filed. And I was about to build something that would make her wish she'd never knocked on my door. Before I tell you what I built, and trust me, you're going to want to see where this goes. If you're dealing with an HOA that thinks your property is their property, hit that subscribe button right now. This channel, Karen Conflict, exists for exactly this reason. We document everything. We fight back legally, and we win. Now, let's get into it. The lot I purchased has a side yard that runs along what the original plat map calls a utility and drainage easement, a 6-foot wide strip of land that technically I own. But that utility companies and the city have the right to access for maintenance. The HOA does not appear anywhere on that easement documentation. Not once. My backyard is private. I put up a cedar privacy fence shortly after moving in. It's a beautiful 6-foot structure stained a warm walnut color, with a single lockable gate on the east side of the property that faces my driveway. The fence was fully permitted. The city inspector signed off on it. I have the permit in a binder, laminated with a copy stored in my cloud drive. That's just who I am. Then Brenda Sterling was elected HOA board president. Within 2 months of her election, violation notices in the community tripled. She hired a compliance consultant, which turned out to be her adult son, to walk the neighborhood twice a week with a clipboard. Then one Tuesday evening in October, she knocked on my door. She stood on my porch in a pressed blazer at 6 p.m. on a Tuesday, holding a manila folder. She told me the board had voted to implement a community access protocol for all gated properties in the subdivision. She said the HOA was requesting that all homeowners with locked gates provide a copy of their gate key to the board, specifically to her. After she left, I sat at my kitchen table and read every word of that folder. I spent the next week doing 2 things: researching HOA law in my state, and quietly pulling every permit, plat map, easement document, and recorded deed related to my property. When the meeting minutes finally arrived, they were vague. No roll call vote recorded, no quorum documentation, no legal citation for the authority being claimed. Just a paragraph that said, "The board unanimously supports community access measures." That wasn't a legal vote. That was a conversation someone wrote down. I sent a certified letter, return receipt requested, to the HOA's registered agent. In it, I stated clearly, the board's resolution lacked legal authority under the recorded CC&Rs, and I would not be complying. On day 4, she left a notice on my door. Not mailed, not certified, just tucked in my door handle like a takeout menu, stating I had been issued a formal violation and fined $150 for failure to cooperate with board directives. I hired a licensed surveyor to restake my property lines and produce a fresh survey drawing, and I hired a fencing contractor for a consultation because I had been thinking. I submitted the architectural request to the HOA 30 days before the hearing, as required. I used their official form. I attached the survey. I attached the permit pre-approval from the city. I noted the materials, the stain color, and the precise dimensions. Brenda rejected it in 6 days. Her written rejection cited aesthetic inconsistency with neighborhood standards. So I filed for a building permit directly with the city. The city issued the permit in 8 days. HOA architectural approval is not required when a city permit is already issued under my state's HOA statute. The hearing arrived. I walked in with a file folder, a printed copy of the state statute, a copy of my survey, a copy of my city permit, and a copy of every letter I had sent and received in the preceding 2 months. I placed my documents on the table, one by one, and walked through each point calmly and without emotion. The board member sitting to Brenda's left leaned over and whispered something to her. Brenda's expression shifted. The fines were dropped 11 days later. I received a brief letter stating the board had reviewed the matter and determined the violation had been issued in error. 2 weeks after that, I broke ground on the new fence section. It took 3 days to build. The new fence panel is solid, tight, seamless. You cannot tell it was added later. And where the old gate used to stand, there is now a smooth, unbroken fence panel. No gate, no lock, no key to give anyone. Brenda came by on the 3rd day of construction. She stood at the edge of the road and watched. She didn't say anything. She just stood there. I kept that note. I put it in the binder, laminated. Because documentation isn't just protection. Sometimes it's absolute victory. Please subscribe to Karen Conflict for more HOA showdowns like this.